Welcome to the Handbook of Strategic Public Relations and Integrated Marketing Communication. I know it's a long title, but it's also a long book, as you've probably found out. This book was redeveloped after a very successful, first edition of the book to help professionals like yourselves or individual students who are looking at developing a career in this field, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, to understand the wide range of subject matter that public relations professionals have to challenge themselves to deal with, as well as we've integrated public relations with marketing and marketing communication, some insights to that newly developing field that we've pioneered here at Northwestern University. This is a book that was originally designed to appeal to professionals who were looking to perhaps change from one field to another and thought that public relations looked like an interesting field from knowing people in the field in their company or in their agency, and to look at where they might move first to be able to try their skills. In other words, to look at whether they wanted to do media relations or whether they wanted to do investor relations or they wanted to do marketing type activities. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but the spirit of it is also that the book became very well known as a textbook, as an inexpensive textbook, about half the price of most of the ones that are for sale today, because it also gave so many great examples from my colleagues and authors who helped build this book that young professionals felt that they had a very quick understanding of the field, and with lots of small case studies and examples to be able to cite, they began to be more excited about what they could do as professionals in the field. Public relations and communication in business, sometimes it's called corporate communication, is actually the fastest area of growth in the marketing field generally. This field has grown rapidly over the last decade, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that's a good sign because in so many aspects of business today, including field of journalism, there's been a decline in hiring of professionals or letting professionals go. And yet we know from research and from interviews with CEOs and C-suite individuals, CFOs, chief financial officers, chief marketing officers, chief HR officers, human resource officers, that the skill of communication and the knowledge of how to communicate to stakeholders or publics has become increasingly in demand. Quite often we get a quote from an executive here in Chicago that we use, and that is, I hire men and women who know their functional area. They know finance, or they know marketing, or they know public relations, or they know human resources. But what I really need is help in understanding all of these groups or these individuals and these organizations that challenge us as a company to be able to work with them or relate to them or deal with their problems. So we think public relations, with the greatest amount of peripheral vision, I think, of any field, meaning that we have a wide view of how the world operates. We challenge our students and our professionals to read widely, to look across a wide range of global as well as domestic and even local newspapers, to the extent that they continue to exist, to broadcast, which is strong, to blogs and tweet sites and so forth, so that someone in the corporation has their eyes and ears on all of what's being said about your organization or about your industry. Public relations people increasingly are educated to be businessmen and women first, who use communication as their strategic advantage. And that's really the point of this book, that we assume that you want to work in complex organizational environments, whether they're businesses or whether they're not-for-profit organizations, which are often just as complicated, or even more perhaps aggressive non-governmental organizations, NGOs. We realize that our advantage as a management function is that we are equipped and knowledgeable and trained and educated to use communication as that advantage. And that's what I hope you'll get out of this book. I hope you'll find by example, by listening to the voice of these professionals who are of extraordinary credentials. They'll introduce themselves in each of their chapters, but let me give a quick example. We were able to persuade the Chief Communication Officer of Ford Motor Company, Ray Day, to co-write a chapter with the immediate past Chief Communication Officer of General Motors, who'd also been the Chief Communication Officer of Chrysler, Stephen Harris. And this is a unique situation where we get such healthy competitors to cooperate to work on a chapter to share their ideas of one of the fields of business that uses public relations very successfully and frequently. So, you know, that example sets a tone for chapters by people like Jonathan Blum, who heads up the communications for Yum Brands, which is KFC and Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, that it sets a tone for leaders from all kinds of industries, including pharmaceutical, including healthcare, including food production, including consulting. So we're very comfortable and confident that you'll find examples for industries that you might find of value to you. Watch for each of the authors to present their orientation to the book, to their chapter. Enjoy, as my students seem to have done, the experience of reading carefully the examples and committing them to memory as if those were part of your life's work, and you can then provide documented proof that a company has tried an idea when you were working with your corporate leadership or organizational leadership. Again, welcome to the Handbook.